everyone. In today's training session, we will cover how to create a number sequence or hook up a number sequence to a form. So basically, number sequence framework is used basically in, for example, details, master, main tables like vend table or cust table, because a new customer or a vendor will definitely need a unique new number. And similarly, it can be used also in detailed transactions like worksheet tables. So all the transactions will definitely, for example, journals or voucher numbers are generated because of the journals. So similarly, purchase table and the sales table, whenever a purchase order or a sales order is generated, so number sequence will be required to assign a unique number to that sale order or purchase order. So that is a good example about it. And before D365, normally all the logic regarding the number sequence was handled within the form level, or you can say a form handler class was used, which made sense at that time. But right now, for example, if there are multiple interfaces or multiple forms, and underlying table is same, so it is better to create a separate class for that, because otherwise if you are having two forms and the approach of a form handler or form level code for generation of number sequence is implemented, so you will need to redefine it on two forms or three forms, whatever of number of forms are there. So you need to then duplicate the code, or it will become redundant code. So instead of that, it's better to create a class and then reuse that class and call the class methods inside the form. So that is the new pattern used, and normally that class is definitely uh, new pattern is basically implemented on the table level or table handler level, and then it is called from form or form handler class. So firstly, we'll start by creating a class in order to define our number sequence, and then we'll write the code to handle them. So in order to do that, we should have a table and a form complete, ideally, using handler classes for the table and form, which we have already completed in my previous two sessions. And now we'll start by first of all locating a base enum called number sequence model. So what we need to do is, first we need to locate the enum on the left hand side of application explorer. You can go to the data types node and in AOT, and expand the base enum node, and in the base enum node you need to just type number sec module. So it is here, and what we can do is right click and create extension. Okay, and create extension. Instead of new project, we already have opened the resort management project, so we'll create an extension for this base enum. So this extension is now created. Let me show you what the values are, and these are general, docu, dir, workflow, event. And let me put this base enum in the base enum folder. Instead, just hide the expanded nodes and drag this to the base enum folder, and then just double click to open it in work area, workspace. And now you can see there are multiple extension to the base enum which was done in application suite extension. So these are all extended values in that base enum. So now what we can do is we need to rename the new base enum extension, and in order to do that, we can just go to just put here pkr resort management, or you can simply put pkr underscore resort, that will be enough also. Okay, so pkr resort is the new name which we have put here, and now in the designer we need to add a new value here. So what we can do is just right click and add a new element. Okay, so the new element name should be pkr resort management, and we need to also give a label to this one. So that label is already, I think, available with the name of resort management, because we must have used that label before. So just locate in the label file which is already open, and just try to locate resort management. Okay, this is resort management parameter, and yes, this one is resort management. We can use this label. Just go ahead and put in the label this property, so that it appears like resort management, and now we can save it and close the designer, the enum, and then we need to just create a new class. Just right click over the project, add a new item or directly a class here, and it will ask the name. Just put the name like and this name should be like number sec module, because this will be child class to that parent class pkr resort. So basically pkr after underscore the child name is followed here, so that I will just go ahead and create it. And now what we can do is we need to extend another class. Just let me locate that class first. In the code node on the left hand side application explorer, you can just find a class like number sequence application module. Okay, so this one is the class which we need to extend and use the common functions or common methods, and to write few of our own method. So simply just extend this class, extends number sec application module. So this will now be extended, and okay, once you have extended this class, then you need to override one of the method here. Okay, so that method is number sequence module method. So we need to just override. I will just remove the documentation. You can write the documentation at your own pace, and what we can do is we need to return a number sequence module. This is the base enum which we have given a new element there, added a new element. So we need to return this that base enum. So just remove everything here except just copy this base enum. Okay, and just put the base enum name, and with scope resolution operator just put our new element which we have added in the base enum here, which we have this element we have created. So I have just returned the value of this base enum. Okay, so once we are done with this one, Okay, so now just right click and okay, so now we need to override also the load module method here, and we need to just remove the super call. Okay, and these two methods are now written, and then we need to also just subscribe to build module map delegate. Previously in AX 2012, that was a manual job which need to initialize the number sequence. So that is now automatically done once you subscribe to number sequence global dot build module map delegate. So for that we need to just write subscribe to the class str, and that need to be number sequence global class, and delegate str need to be number sec global build modules map delegate, and just complete the decorator and give it a static void method definition build modules map subscriber, and parameter will be map of number sequence module name map. Okay, then number sequence global add module to map, and in this one class number sequence module underscore pkr resort, that class need to be given here, so that class num is returned, and then number sequence module name map. Just save it so that if there is any build error it will be shown. Okay, so now what we can do is we need to complete our load module. Just let me cut it and put it at the end. Okay, in the load module we need to complete it by defining each of the number sequence from the EDT, and that will be done by using the block of course, and we need to define like the resort ID. If let me show you resort ID EDT. So here it is, resort ID is there, and then there is resort booking ID. We need to create number sequence for these two EDTs. So for that what we can do is let me check, there is number sec module CRM or customer load module is there. Let me just copy this and I think better it is to copy and then change as per our needs. That would be more easy approach. This is just used to initialize. Wait a minute, and it is all repetitive. So there is item ID still here. I will just copy this chunk and place in the load module, and let me modify it as per our needs. So let's make it for PKR resort ID first. So just give it a name like PKR resort ID, which is our EDT. Number sequence data type and construct is okay, and now give it set up resort ID. So that is reference help here. Let me check on under the EDT if there is any label. We can use this help text. Let me open the label file. Okay, so this one is a unique reference for the resort record. So that can go over here. Okay, and wizard is continuous should be false, and wizard is manual should be no. Okay, and then wizard is change down allowed should be no, and is change up allowed no, and then there is one field, one line which is missing here. That is param wizard highest, and that need to be, for example, 9 and 6 times 9, and param sort field will make it 1, and okay, so this is now done here. And then what we can do is just copy the same chunk and then make it for booking order ID, and just note the EDT here. That will be resort booking ID, and just copy the help text label and put it here, and remaining sort field should be 2, and the number sequence parameter type data area 2 and 2. This is okay. And now one more thing is, for example, this is a purchase order. Let me check here. Purchase ID is there, purchase order ID is there, receipt list ID is there, purchase RFQ case ID is there. Okay, so now we are done here with this load module method. Okay, so now just save it and close. No need to close, just keep it open, and then we can go to our parameter form. Open the forms node and open the resort parameter form, and at the same time from the left hand side you can we can open here the invent parameters form. So in the invent parameter, just open in the form design, we need to open the data source, and then number sequence reference. Okay, this is one of the data source here, and we can just copy it. Okay, and we can go to our resort parameter, go to the data source and right click and paste it here. So the data source is automatically on right clicking and paste it here. And also we need to refactor our code in this pasted data source that was brought in, and also we'll need to set up the number sequence handling code. So we need to just double click on class declaration node of the method node on the form, this one, just double click. Okay, and just after the first braces, just type here, just ignore the error, and here we need to declare a variable of boolean type, run execute direct, and we need to declare the number sequence reference. Okay, number sec scope, make it a scope, name of variable, number sequence module, pkr resort. Just give it a more indentation so that it is quite in line with each other, and here we can give it like number sequence application module temp id ref id container number. Now we need to create a code in order to initialize the number sequence class. So what we can do is we'll create a new method. Okay, so just write down the method as a private void mean no return type and number sequence pre init. Okay, in this method you can just use the variable declared and make it false, and then number sequence module need to be initialized, so that will number sequence module and PKR resort management. This value will be assigned to this container. Then an instance need to be initialized, instance of number sequence application module that will be initialized with a constructor. Okay, and okay, and then scope need to be initialized, number sequence scope factory. Okay, create data area scope. Okay, then number sequence application module, create reference multi, number sequence modules, then scope. Okay, temp id ref dot set temp data. Basically this is for temporary table, and then number sequence reference configuration key table multi, and pass it number sequence module enum. This is container basically, not enum. Pass the container. This is how we initialize the number sequence class. Okay, and then we also need another second method that performs some further initializations, but needs the data source to be set up. Uh, so this should be run after super call in the init method. At the bottom you can see this super call. So that should run after the super call in the init method. So we can write the post init initialization code as well. And now this was pre, and similarly just copy this and the braces, and name it like number sequence post init, and just call this after super number sec post init. Just call after this, and now writing within the blank method the logic here, and some further initializations. So what will be same as active variable need to be assign with number sequence application module dot same as active method will be assigning a return type to this one, and number sequence reference underscore ds means data set dot object. Okay, and field num basically will be number sequence table here, number sequence reference table, and the field will be allow same as and make it visible same as active. Okay, so these are two basic lines, and then we have put in our init the call to number sequence post init, and also we need to call our pre init before super, so that will go here, and there will be one more call in the init, that is number sequence application module, and call the load all method here. So when we have copied basically the data source, it has brought its own code as well. Also we need to remove any code which is implementation specific, or it should be refactored. And so we'll go to our resort parameter. Let's check here if it is something specific, so that need to be either removed or refactored. Okay, now once more go to the inventory parameter form, and we need to also copy the tab page here uh, from the form designer for invent parameters. Okay, so this is the number. So this one is number sequence tab page, and we need to just copy it in order to save our time, and go to the we need to just right click on the parameter tab and paste our number sequence tab page here. So we need to expand here the number sequence body, basically number sequence and number sequence body controls, and then within the number sequence tab page we need to expand the header group control, this one. Text property we need to change here in the static text 10. Let me check. So this is a setup number sequence for inventory documents. So we need to make it for example setup. Let me copy. Okay, so we'll make like setup number sequences for resort management. Resort management. Okay, this one will be fine, I think. Resort management documents can be even better, and I will copy this. Okay, and our label file is still open, so I will just create this. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . Sick setup. Just copy this label and place here in the text property. Okay, so now what we can do is we can do a better naming here. So for example, the header should be named as number sequence header. So in order to avoid the conflict, so similarly in the static text also number sequence header text should be the more appropriate name, and then similarly in grid container I need to prefix with the number sec, and number sequence grid should be also number sec grid. In this way I have renamed it. And there is one more thing, this action pane. We don't need the toolbar, so we'll just remove this action pane. Okay, so this whole action pane control will just remove. Okay, so that is removed, and just save it. And now we need to close it, as well as invent parameter, as well as this one. Almost everything need to be now closed. Just save this label. Okay, now what we can do is open the parameter table, and this is our parameter table, and we need to add a new method that will basically return the number sequence reference. So for that, just right click over the method and create a new method. Okay, in the new method just modify this, remove the documentation for now, and make it public static number sequence reference. That will need to be number reference. This will be num reference, and booking order ID. So it is better to make it booking ID. Okay, not booking order ID, just booking ID is enough. And what we can do is just return here the number sequence reference, find reference, extended type num. Okay, here what we can do is put our resort booking ID EDT. So this will be our booking ID. Reference need to be returned. Okay, so just save it, and build the project for any errors.